Capital Views is sponsored by Northrim Bank, Alaska Oil and Gas Association, ConocoPhillips, and Linden.
Hi, I'm Tim Bradner with Alaska Legislative Digest, and welcome to Capital Views. And welcome today to Dr. Lisa Parady, Executive Director of the Alaska Council on School Administrators. Lisa, thanks for joining us.
Thanks, Tim, for having me today. I always appreciate this opportunity.
Well, Lisa, your organization represents professional school administrators around the state, and I know that in the past three years, there's been a lot of stress on the system, a lot of personnel stress. Mainly because of money, shortage of funds. There was a bit more money last year after the legislature overrode the governor's veto on the funding for the BSA increase. Has that helped things? Has it eased up, made things a little bit better for your folks?
Well, I think your assessment's accurate on the historic pressures over the last decade, but we were really grateful to the legislators for their wisdom in making the override happen and giving districts something that they can plan on. You know, it was a relief to public educators across the state to get that increase. We're super grateful. We know it hasn't necessarily kept up with the price of inflation, but I think just increasing the base has given districts an opportunity to plan a little better. So that is providing some relief to the overall system.
Lisa, have you seen any sort of near-term improvements in terms of retention, recruitment because of that?
I'm not sure that we've seen an immediate response because of that, although we may, as we're in this recruiting season, really after funding, teacher retention and recruitment is the single most significant challenge facing Alaska school districts. And I think the legislature does understand that. They recognize the importance of this work. And I think their efforts to provide more stable funding is certainly a signal to that. But districts face a lot of challenges. We know that affordable health care, loan forgiveness for years of service, teacher certification, reciprocity. We're working on alternative teacher certification pathways. There's a lot of additional policy things that we want to put in place because we're up against a national shortage of educators. And Alaska's tends to be a little bit worse because we've been so historically reliant on recruiting from the lower 48. So I think continuing to strive for competitive wages, securing a retirement, and forward funding so that districts can continue to plan and know that they can, in good faith, offer contracts and not have to pull those back because they don't know their funding. So we are moving in the right direction. I'm not sure we've had immediate impacts, but I think we're working in tandem with the legislature to, try to do some things that will give Alaska some support. And I think our organization, the Alaska Council of School Administrators, which is a private nonprofit. We've been operating for over 50 years, focused on public education support. And because we have seen, such a chronic and severe teacher shortage, all educators, frankly, across the board, for a lot of reasons, we started what's called the Alaska Retention Recruitment Center, and ARC for short. And we're focused on teacher retention and recruitment all across the board. And I can talk a little bit more about that if you'd like.
Actually, I would, Lisa. There's a new initiative you have underway to recruit from out of state. How does that work?
Yeah, we're really excited. As I said, the Alaska Educator Recruitment Retention Division has really launched a new nationwide marketing campaign focused on recruiting educators to teach in Alaska. So I invite everybody to go take a look at it. It includes digital advertising that's going to run across the United States, just really highlighting Alaska as a fun, adventurous, meaningful place to live and teach. At the same time, really signaling that we need qualified educators in Alaska's classrooms. So our goal is to increase awareness of teaching opportunities in Alaska and then expand upon the pool of applicants available to our school districts. Really excited about this. I think we're the only one really focused on that kind of national campaign. And with the work that we're doing, you know, we face chronic and severe teacher shortages because of geographic isolation. And so we're highlighting some of our most remote areas, showing what an adventure it can be, what a growth experience it can be. This will appeal to some folks who may not even know the opportunity exists. We have high turnover, not just in our rural and remote areas, but certainly in our urban areas as well. And we are supporting, the entire state. We focus on housing, supporting additional teacher housing. We are working on every kind of critical staffing solution in partnership with school districts. And we especially have needs in special education, elementary education, math, science, really focused on high quality instruction so that every child in Alaska can have that opportunity. And one interesting piece is that I'm not sure Alaskans know how reliant we've become on international teachers. In the past 5 years, we've had a growth in that area. I think we've had about 521 H-1B teachers placed statewide, and those numbers continue to increase. We have a little bit of difficulty placing J-1 visas in our rural and remote areas because they have some the State Department has some specific requirements to be able to place J-1 regarding medical care and access to different services that some of our most remote areas don't have. But we are working really district by district to understand what their needs are and try to help them.
That's encouraging. Lisa, progress is being made, and hopefully we can continue the conversation and continue to have good reports.
Thank you. I feel really optimistic about this focus, and there isn't, I think, any kind of specific policy to point to or any kind of silver bullet in this situation. It's going to be a culmination of all these different steps coming together to move that needle. And
Good.
yeah, I think districts are on board. I think policymakers are on board. I know others are doing things to assist. But at the end of the day, there are some very specific things that we can do. And we'll be focused on some of those things this legislative session, and are just grateful for all the support we're getting to do this work.
Well, Lisa, thank you for joining us, and we will continue the conversation.
Great. Thanks so much for having me. Appreciate it, Tim.